best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. But for those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio. The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
It's your move, Sean, just so you know.
I just went
again. So Sean and I are playing Yahtzee right now. And it's Sean's move. This is how we prep for shows. We actually do things while we discuss topics. And Yahtzee was tonight's game of choice, if you will. Hey, good evening. Welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show. I'm your host, Sackhead Clint. Seated to my izquierda is Sackhead Sean.
The what?
That'd be left. That's in honor of Trump's immigration plan and so forth. For any of our Spanish-speaking amigos out there, I just wanted to kind of throw a word in there just to kind of make everybody feel welcome and at home.
All the amigos up in this casa. We want you to feel at home.
Right.
Good.
Right.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well.
Good.
I'm doing well.
It's nice to be back home. I haven't been in studio for a while.
Well, that's because we located Saco last week.
Right.
So,
first of all, here's the coolest thing. You know how you get miles on your, like, for airline flights and stuff last night?
Right.
Or on your, I should say, for flights you take with tickets and whatnot. I actually, I hit my limit looking for Saco last week.
Yeah, no, they actually sent you saying we're unable to give you any more miles because you've circumnavigated the globe.
And it was really nice of British Airways to take the Concorde out of mothballs for me.
Yeah, no, they did that. Fortunately, I believe, and this is unconfirmed, but I believe that they're huge fans of the show, and so they might have been willing to do that.
Yep.
For us, or for you, more specifically.
It was us. It was an us thing, I thought.
Right, yeah, but you got to take the trip.
Right, and it was nice. I mean, you know, it's not often you get to see the beautiful people of Uganda. Or Paraguay, or some of the other wonderful, huge nations like Luxembourg, etc. So it was really nice getting there.
So I don't know what Saco did with our Gatorades, but we usually have Gatorade for the show just to kind of keep the whistle wet and whatnot. And I just went to go take a drink of my Gatorade that I pulled out of the refrigerator, and it's a frozen solid block of ice. Have you tried yours yet?
I haven't yet.
Give that bottle a squeeze.
But it's not cold, which is weird.
Right.
But it's ice.
Yeah. I don't know.
So that's a little strange.
Dry ice.
I don't know what's going on with it, or
chemistry.
Chemistry.
Yeah, that's what's going on. You're welcome.
I think that's a good way. I think that's a wonderful thing to do. What?
I don't know.
Oh, man. So everyone's asking what knows Saco. Saco's not here.
Right.
But he's not here.
Right.
Does that clarify? That should answer the questions.
Right. And look, it's clear to me. I don't understand what the problem is.
By the way,
just in case anybody was wondering, because these Gatorades are frozen, the current temperature of them is 273.15 Kelvin.
Kelvin, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because that is the point where water freezes.
You brought up a Spanish word earlier.
Which one?
Meaning left. I don't remember.
Izquierda.
Izquierda.
Right.
I learned another Spanish word this week.
Which one?
Bishop. My girlfriend got really drunk and fell, and I had to pick that bishop.
Folks, the blatant bigot. Welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show, folks. The blatant bigot strikes again. Seated to my left is... No!
I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
Yeah. And judo is not it's a martial art.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. I'm still not 100% on that one. I saw that online last week, and I'm just starting to venture. I've taken a couple weeks off from everything, and I'm starting to slowly ease back in.
Get back into it. Well, that's like you called me out of the blue the other day. I don't know if it was yesterday or whatnot, and you said, "Hey, what do you call four Hispanic guys in a boat that's sinking?" And I said, "I don't know." You said Cuatro Cinco, and you thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And I said, "There we go. The blatant bigot strikes again, Sean." And that joke kills you. You're still laughing about it. And I just remember thinking, wow.
You know, and I know we have a lot of news to talk about tonight. But do you know which segment I'm looking forward to talking about the most?
Yes.
Which
now,
one?
I'm not gonna showbiz this.
I'm just saying.
I do, and I wish I would have. I wish that topic would have been brought up. I honestly thought you knew. We can change the colors. I can put that green. I just put it blue.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It'll just be nice to say hello to our friends out there and get underway once again.
I need to get you really find ourselves. This is a private joke, but it's hilarious.
We should probably set a ping on the topics and really start honing in on them soon.
Right, absolutely. You got to be careful with these jokes. We're going to be underwater really quick here. What?
Nothing. Well, you need these jokes to depressurize an otherwise stressful situation, right?
Right, absolutely, because otherwise it can get pretty stale in here.
Diesel. Anyhow.
The turtle. Anyways.
You know how annoyed people must get with our inside jokes?
Oh, yeah.
It's funny as hell, though.
It is.
It's good to be back with you, my friend. I did miss you guys last week. I can do the show anywhere. We've talked about this before. But like last week, I was chasing soccer all over the country.
Right.
In Vegas.
Right.
Last month. But
Yeah.
there's something really nice about coming back to our studio, and I don't know what it is. I don't know why the energy's different.
Because we feed off of each other. Not literally, because we tried that one time,
Right.
made a movie,
9.5
had a
weeks.
couple
Remember we did
drinks.
that?
We did that whole thing. But we feed off each other.
He loves honey, folks.
Listen, you promised you would never
Speak of this again.
that again. People are wondering, who's honey?
I was just merely pointing out that you like to ingest local honey to help with your allergies when
Right.
you go to a new area. That's all.
Right.
I don't know what you were getting so antsy about.
I wasn't the one that was antsy. That was you, because you couldn't brush it out of your fur.
Oh, man.
I love how you just lifted your shirt up to show me where it, like, peeled off.
True story, folks. No, really, this is all true.
It puts the lotion.
Puts the lotion in the basket.
There was that time. He knows that Peaches died,
Poor Peaches.
and then we brought him back.
Peaches, who, by the way, when I told that story of us telling the story on the air,
Right.
could not have been more proud of himself.
I know.
That was the funniest. I've never seen somebody so close to death in an awkward story be so joyed to be a part of it.
Right, internationally.
Wait, on the air? Yeah. You told it on the air? Yeah, that's awesome. You almost died. Well, yeah, but that's happened so many times, it's not a big deal.
Right, and that's awesome that you talked about me on the air.
Dan,
Let's do it again.
Dan Butcher says in the chat room, he wish he knew how to quit you. I think he means both of us, though.
Right. No, just you. He doesn't want to be associated with the blatant bigot, Sean. Dan and I can still hang out and drink beer.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
By the way, just before...
But you're a problem.
Why am I a problem?
I don't want to blame this on anybody, because who wants to assign... But you're a problem.
Why am I a problem?
Because you're a bigot. I want to get you a shirt. You had this idea while we were prepping at dinner. A blatant bigot shirt. And then I think we should sell them.
We should sell them. Homie?
Casa-ish.
Get some fat greenbacks.
Get some paper.
But honestly, in the world of... we're just spitballing capitalism. By the way, this whole idea is patent pending.
Right.
So don't even try
And so is the idea.
But in this whole...
Just in case people wanted to say, well, he didn't say the idea was. He said the idea was.
Idea.
Right.
With this whole... Trump being as popular as he is right now, and the reason is
like the card game?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason is because of his honesties. Even if people disagree with some of his politics, his honesty is what people are being drawn to right now, in my humble opinion. I think the blatant bigot shirt to counteract...
We could send Trump one.
A lot of people.
And it's not negative.
Right. It's very blatant.
Right.
But it's anti-PC, right? I mean, that's kind of what we do on this show. We're anti-political correctness because it's so horrific.
Right.
And I really think that...
I thought you were going with anti-police chases, PC, but we're not.
No, we're not. We're all for it.
Yeah, we're all for it.
But I think that shirt would actually take off. Probably pretty big in the Mexican community.
I'm thinking so. That would be huge.
No, they love shirts like that.
They do.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Especially if you put like the eagle thing, like the eagle crest thing there.
Lugerberg?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that would
And if they can't read English, they won't know what it says.
By the way, I logged in Sacco's chat into the chat room. So tonight he will be under Sacco Sucks.
Okay.
So that's all taken care of. It is that time. We're going to get to the big board of topics here, folks.
You're up first.
Yeah.
It's in green.
Starting out with just horrible news out of...
yeah, because that's what we do on this show. We like to make people feel good.
This is just terrible. And it's out of Moneta, Virginia. A local affiliate, WDBJ, was doing a news station. Was doing a remote. I'm sure you've seen it on the news right now. By now, anyhow. While it was on live this morning, the reporter, Allison Parker, and cameraman, Adam Ward... were shot and killed, and also shot was the woman that they were interviewing. And honestly, I can't. I believe her name was Vicky Gardner, and she's actually in stable condition. But they were shot and killed by a guy by the name of Vesterly Flanagan, also known as Bryce Woods. Allegedly. I know. It says allegedly, even though he posted a video himself onto his Twitter of his perspective of the shooting. He released a 25-page manifesto to CBS News hours before the attack. He tweeted after the fact, essentially justifying his actions on why they deserved it. He walked up on the remote at 6:30 in the morning or so, fired 15 shots, killed this young lady reporter, Allison Parker, and cameraman Adam Ward during a live feed, and then proceeded to lead the police eventually on a chase at this Vesterly Flanagan. He crashed into the median, turned the gun onto himself, and eventually died of that self-inflicted gunshot wound. He didn't die right away. He died later at the hospital. Just tragic. It played out on national television.
Maybe he suffered a little bit.
I hope so. I hope he suffered a lot of it. Listen, folks, we talk about news and media all the time, and we disagree with a lot of what mainstream media does. We disagree with a lot of how media in general in this country is reported. Mm-hmm. Because there's always a spin or what have you. There's no excuse for anything like this to occur. And this guy was a former reporter. He bounced around a couple stations. Most of the stations reported that he was always causing some sort of trouble. He had made allegations of racism against other employees at more than one station. He claimed racist comments were made by Allison Parker, and that he also filed a complaint the first time he worked with cameraman Adam Ward. They were all unfounded. He was later released from the network he worked for, WDBJ. He had to be escorted from the building by local law enforcement because he stated, quote, "I will not leave alone," or "I won't leave under my own power." And then he took to Twitter after the fact and, like I said, uploaded video, uploaded some other comments. He's a very, very sick man, obviously. According to some sources close to the investigation, saying that he purchased the 2 Glock pistols that he had on him, one of which he used during the incident. I believe he only used one. Maybe he used 2. I'm not sure. It looked like just one on the video, which, by the way, don't watch if you don't have to. It's horrible, and it's tragic whenever you see innocent lives taken, but this one was particularly cold, and here's why. He bought them, allegedly, 2 days after the Charleston church shooting.
Yep.
In his manifesto, there are a lot of race-driven claims. And that's not to say that was the only reason. Obviously, I would justify...
And the victims in this case were
in fact white.
Okay.
But I would also say that mental illness played probably a bigger role in this.
Because I haven't seen... Well, but that's an excuse.
No, I don't think so. I think that's... Here's what's wrong. He purchased the handguns legally, right? And people said, oh, blah, 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 blah. And again, gun laws. If this didn't happen, well, wait a minute. If you look through his employment career, the last couple of years, here's a man who is obviously falling apart. He'd made comments to several people that were concerning his actions, his emotions. Once again, there were probably signs here, and I'm sure as time is going to... Mark my words. As time rolls on, we will find out that there was more and more mental instability that people knew about and did not do anything about.
Maybe, but that starts that slippery slope, right? I mean, if he doesn't do anything that's criminal... Now, I don't know what his background is at the station or what comments he's made in the past that cause concern. Or could he have been charged with making some sort of threat because of those statements? They were obviously concerned. And so could he have been charged, but it wasn't reported to law enforcement or charges not filed? I don't know any of those specifics, and I think those are good questions to ask that should come out. I'm serious, though. There are things that get said, even on this show, that some ultra-sensitive people may take umbrage with or whatever. So I think we have to be very careful with that. I think, for me, bottom line is this guy was evil. And I think he used... race was an issue. I think this is potentially a hate crime. I think a mental illness defense is perhaps... I think it's perhaps... bogus. This guy, he knew exactly what he was doing. He wrote his manifesto. He purchased a gun after the Charleston. He needed an excuse, and he latched onto something, and then he committed this crime.
I believe that there should be guilty by reason of insanity on the books, and it should carry the same sentence.
Right.
So please understand what I'm saying.
I don't want people out there to latch onto this and say, "Oh, he didn't know what he was doing."
But
he was just. I think he knew exactly what he was doing.
In cold blood, you could argue that there's a slight mental illness there. To take another person's life in cold blood.
See, I think you could argue evil. I think mental illness is thrown out far too much today as an excuse or as an attempt. And I know you're not excusing this behavior, so I want to be clear. I know you're not. But I think it's thrown out so much that it's almost like an excuse to excuse behavior or an excuse to do mental illness. Now, look, mental illness is an issue in this country, and I'm not minimizing that at all. But in cases like this, look, some people are just bad.
Right.
And I know that's not the politically correct thing to say, and it's not because they're sick or they need help. I mean, maybe some of them do, and again, mental illness is a serious issue, and there are people that need help. But I believe there are people that are just bad. And And this alleged killer, I believe, is just bad. He sounds like he was an a-hole the entire time he worked at the company.
And other companies as
and
well.
other companies as well. It sounds like this guy, I mean, obviously it was premeditated. I saw a report that he was ultra sensitive to everything.
And apparently Dan Butcher from Pundit Press is telling me in the chat room right now is that he was gay. So now we have a gay black man who's committed a race crime, as he says, by murdering 2 white people in cold blood.
But how many times? I haven't seen it reported that way. Like, I've seen references that he was homosexual. I've seen references but I haven't seen reference to this being a hate crime.
Because, I mean,
even though there are racial undertones in his manifesto.
Absolutely. And listen, like you said, I'm not making an excuse for anything. I think anyone who commits a horrendous crime like this, even if they are insane, should fry in the chair.
And look, if this guy, this may sound bad, but it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be bad. Look, this coward took his own life.
Right.
If you're going to take your own life anyway, just do it.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to see anybody do that. That's not what I'm saying. But if that's your ultimate goal, if that's your ultimate plan, why hurt anybody else in the process?
Because I hate to say it, but if if he's going merely for shock factor to try to draw attention to whatever his cause is, if he mailed that manifesto minus the killing of the 2 reporters and then committed suicide, essentially saying that he was a gay black man who couldn't get ahead in the news industry because of it.
It'd be a call for help.
And it would be everywhere right now.
Yes.
Every major news network would be talking about the blight of black people in this country and gays, and then gay black people and how that needs a special classification. They would be going insane.
Yes, and this would be the huge event for how we need to get people help, and it was a cry for help, and all these behavior issues in the past were a cry for help.
There'd be parades everywhere.
But this coward had to murder 2 people, attempt to murder a third in cold blood on camera during a live news feed, and then he filmed it himself. The alleged shooter.
Right.
And
I mean, that's just sick.
And then when the cops found him, then he killed himself.
Well, exactly. And he didn't even have, and I'm not saying you should engage law enforcement, but if you're going to have the stones to kill 2 people in cold blood.
Unarmed people just doing their job.
Literally shot him in the back. Literally. All 3 people were shot in the back. Why not make the ultimate stand, right? Because you're going to lose. He knows he's going to lose, and I want it to be on my terms.
Maybe because he didn't have a perceived beef with law enforcement. His perceived beef was with
the news
people.
And perhaps that was it. But either way, and Mary, God bless Mary, I love her so much. She said in the chat room, even if he didn't have a gun, maybe he would have used a knife. And I said, yeah. Or he would have blown them up or driven a car over them the next time they were out, or dropped an anvil on them. One way or the other, it's going to happen.
We've seen edged weapons become a component to a lot of these.
People that killed in one edged weapon attack in China. It happens.
But we're looking at edged weapons having a component now here in the United States as well. You take a look at the student in Pennsylvania that brought the knife to school, the beheading of the woman in Oklahoma. You have the Santa Barbara killer that the first 3 victims were killed with a knife, and then he tried to run them over with the car, and then he shot the last 3. So you had 3 weapons in that attack. The guy in a movie theater with the airsoft gun, edged weapon as well.
Yep, he had a hatchet.
So we're seeing an edged weapon component to this. So for all you gun folks out there, it's not that violence wouldn't happen if we didn't have
just find other ways to
guns.
Do it. Yeah. So absolutely horrible, obviously. And we'll find out more about this guy as we go on. But this is, like you said, I think the biggest misses on this is the race aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And his history. And obviously, my heart goes out to the families and friends of the 2 that were killed.
Absolutely.
Both of which were young and engaged to people that they worked with. One of which, the cameraman was engaged to the show's producer who listened and watched it live. And the other one was the night anchor for that network as well. So it's just a tragic story.
So, switching gears, Detroit, Michigan, huge problem with crime, and there's a call to arms, for lack of a better term.
Well, what white conservative lunatic is calling for that in Detroit? It's got to be some insane person who's just a complete crazy conservative.
No.
Sheriff Joe Preo, maybe, or...
No. Chief Craig.
What?
Yeah, Police Chief Mr. Craig.
Not
Chief
exactly
Craig,
a huge
from the
conservative.
Detroit Police Department.
Not a big
And
conservative.
he's not a big white guy either.
No? Show a white guy?
No, I think he's
Wide white guy.
No,
That's me.
no, I think he's black.
Well, weird. So are you saying that this police chief is using common sense and statistics and then formulating a plan for citizens of Detroit to better protect themselves against criminality?
Yes,
Oh, so in other words, he's just a damn good police chief.
yes,
That's what it sounds like to me.
yes. And again, this is
Well, where the hell does he get off?
this is the chief of police for Detroit, Chief James Craig.
Where does he get off?
I don't know, but here's a quote from him. When you look at the city of Detroit, we're kind of leading the way in terms of urban areas with law-abiding citizens carrying guns. Look, Detroit was hit very hard. They've had issues with cutbacks and whatnot. The crime rate has skyrocketed. The police department there is tapped, and he's calling on local citizens, law-abiding citizens, to reclaim the city.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. He first brought this
God
out
bless
in
him.
December of 2013. Thousands of folks within the city have got handgun permits.
Awesome.
In 2014, according to a Fox News report, some 1,169 new handgun permits were issued, while 8,102 guns were registered with the department. Many new permit holders also bought new firearms. More than 5,000 new guns have been registered. And
We're going to Detroit, baby.
right, and according to Detroit, it is not difficult to get a concealed weapons permit there.
Sacco, fire up the van again. We're moving the show to Detroit.
Home invasions have gone down.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of these gun owners are using their guns against these intruders, and more people having guns are making burglars cautious. So, and this is according to Rick Ector, who's a firearms instructor, who also runs a blog, Legally Armed in Detroit. So again, a positive story here, and
Craig?
yeah, and.
What a great guy.
Look, Detroit has a population of about 680,000 people, and over 80% are black. So this is not a racial issue in terms of trying to keep a particular minority group oppressed. If anything, it's about getting a group of citizens, residents of
to defend themselves in their city.
Absolutely.
And listen, we've talked about where Detroit was before the Democrats took over 45 years ago. Mm-hmm. It was one of the richest cities on the planet before the Democrats and the unions took over.
The huge factories. The auto industry was
booming.
Yep.
And then the Democrats took over and essentially taxed and destroyed it into submission to where now the population is cut over half in the last 20 years. Over half the city has left Detroit. And now it looks like that there's finally somebody in Detroit, Chief Craig, who's going to stand up and start taking their city back and giving the people the power in the city, if you will.
You mean allowing them to exercise their Second Amendment rights and their rights to self-defense?
Yes.
Their fundamental natural rights.
Yes.
Yes. And what's interesting is this call first came back in, again, December 2013, and the city council there has not recalled him or asked for his resignation. Right?
Because statistics count, right?
So you talk about, and how interesting is that? So you're talking about a liberal city with a liberal council, I believe, and
yeah, very liberal.
He's still in power,
right? And if you
can't tell me they couldn't find a liberal black chief of police who would say there's no gun permits, no way, the city's too dangerous,
or white police. It doesn't matter.
Anybody, right? But the community is predominantly.
And I'm the blatant bigot.
Look, the community is predominantly black, and I think it's completely reasonable, right?
And listen, if you really want to know how bad Detroit is, a couple of years ago, there was a documentary made about the Detroit Fire Department and what they had to go through and how screwed up Detroit is.
Well, yeah, especially since there's no cats to rescue out of trees there.
Well, Detroit, everything's on fire all the time. Detroit has the busiest fire department in the country, I believe. Because you have all these abandoned houses, and sometimes arson is like number 4 out of serious crimes. Like, it's amazingly high. But when they rode along, you actually got to see the city of Detroit extremely well. How poorly funded it is because there's no tax base there to pay for the city needs. I believe they're in receivership through the federal government for a few years. There's a lot of things that needed to change. But what you saw in that documentary was a city literally on fire and burning itself down. Drug addiction through the roof, violence through the roof. They couldn't go to some calls because they were getting shot at. So to have a police... No doors were closing. They were on fire. To have a police chief stand up and understand that the need of his citizens in the city come before everything else. My hat's off to Chief Craig, and I think they get the Sackhead clap.
Is that you've given that to somebody before?
Sacco.
Right.
By the way, Sacco's in the house.
Sacco's in the house.
You want to chat with him at shrmedia.com. Click live chat.
He's already logged in.
Yep, he's logged in under Sacco Sucks, so you can chat with him there. We'll be back right here on the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network.
We have Clinton block when we come back.
We do, not you in block, but
Clinton, the Hillary
block.
Right, Kenkel block.
Controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying half of the stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific from me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border and says we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and taxes on others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show. Political Review, Jersey Joe is doing an awesome job on Edge of Liberty. May have the line of the night in the chat room. He knows this, I don't even know how he would know this. I've had the clap so many times, he now calls it applause. So...
I'm sorry to hear that.
Apparently, I've been sick. I had no idea.
Did he say that about himself or about you?
Me.
How would he know that?
Well, maybe I got drunk. I don't remember.
Maybe you got drunk. That's like saying maybe Ken McClintock's black.
Anywho, we actually confirmed
Maybe
that. Computer server, and I had to Google that, but apparently she had two, as it's being alleged. So we knew about the first one, and she's not the only one. That's what's kind of interesting.
Well, I want to go back for a second here because you talked about the potential of a possible second server, but there were reports now that she actually had classified information from three different agencies.
Yeah, but it's only three.
Perhaps.
Oh, yeah, perhaps.
And now there's questions about if she still has a security clearance.
Well, if she'd be eligible for one.
Wait, what? No, she might still have one.
Oh, what?
Yes.
I just figured with all the criminality, the question was, is she
potential criminality?
Sorry. Potential criminality. If it's possible for her to still actually obtain a secret clearance to be president. That was kind of my question. But now you're intimating that she may actually still have an active secret clearance.
Right. That's one of the questions that's being asked now by members of the Senate, members of the Judiciary Committee. They're questioning specifically, hey, does she still maintain her security clearance even though there's an FBI investigation? And that's a great question.
It is a great question.
Right, Senator Charles Grassley wrote in a letter, quote, since the ICIG, the Intelligence Community Inspector General, made a referral to the FBI pursuant to 50 U.S.C. 3381, so the United States Code, has Secretary Clinton's security clearance been suspended pending the outcome of the inquiry? And it's an excellent question.
Right. And it should...
It should be. Look, if there's an active investigation into the loss of classified information, should these clearances be suspended by the security manager pending the outcome? And of course, they should be.
Yeah. Listen, the fact that as any of this is going on, even the possibility that she may have a secret clearance is jackassery, right? Because any sort of investigation like this, the first thing you do is, if you're still active, they remove you from your position, suspend you, what have you, and suspend all of your access and clearance. That's kind of standard protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that it's a question tells me someone wasn't dotting their I's and crossing their T's.
Well, the State Department had a response.
Oh, good.
We do not confirm details of individuals' security clearance.
Oh, so yeah, she has it.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Because if not, they would have had that idiot Psaki in front of a microphone so fast going, whoa, no, she hasn't had it. No, her clearance was removed when she was no longer Secretary of State because she shouldn't have access to anything like that, blah, 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 blah. This, that, and the other thing, and we have the times and dates that it was removed specifically in pursuant to U.S. Code number blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. Oh, I'm batting my eyes. Look how pretty I am. Don't ask me any hard questions. Which is actually a direct quote, I believe, from one of her press conferences.
Yeah.
This is absolutely disgusting.
Ludicrous.
This is ludicrous. I don't know if this is insane or this is ludicrous. Who was it?
Mike Tyson.
Yeah, but who? It was Tracy Morgan doing Mike Tyson.
Yes.
On the Chris Rock. Oh no, it wasn't Chris Rock. Chris Rock on Saturday Night Live. The Nate. Oh, what was that show? It was the only 15-minute show on television. Why? Because the man wouldn't give me 30. Not X.
You're digressing.
Only here, folks.
There was also a report that some of the smartphones that were issued to her staffers while she was Secretary of State and whatnot have been wiped and or recycled.
Well, I heard that there's actually a story out there on the website called the Daily Rash, and it was when Hillary was allegedly on Chris Matthews, and I didn't see the video, so I'm just reading the website. But essentially, she said Chelsea, and I believe she was joking, Chelsea may have erased the servers during her postpartum depression. So, anything's possible, right?
Wow.
I mean, it's the Clintons. If that truly happened, or if that is her true defense at some point, the hands raised, hand on the Bible lights on fire, she's sworn in, sits down, her horns come out as she holds her pitchfork, and it says, oh, well, during her session of postpartum after she's had my grandchild, Chelsea went around and was deleting servers and information from people's computers and phones. Would it shock you?
No.
I didn't see it, but that's what the Daily Rash is reporting.
But and talking about things getting deleted, we already kind of touched on it. But the her kind of top aides and whatnot, their devices have been wiped clean or destroyed as well.
Right.
So that's interesting.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Right? Why wouldn't you?
We don't need that information anymore.
And granted, some of the devices may have been old and outdated technology, so those phones and those devices would be reissued and or recycled. But it's just interesting that whereas that may be part of the normal course of business on that one, right? But at what point did you maybe think something was up and maybe those should be retained? And I think that's a valid question.
I think you have to look at what the normal attrition rate for those devices are. And if this was within the policy, because there's every 2 years because of information upgrade and security, you have to get rid of these phones and upgrade them, blah, 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 blah. Or were the phones defective and why, and all these other things. But you would think that those phones would be downloaded and the information stored somewhere.
But the information should be stored somewhere if the information flows through the confidential servers, right?
Absolutely. But I'll tell you right now, though, if it's a phone on the high level of government that's being used by people with classified and inside information, those phones should be downloaded prior to destruction, so all the information on there can be recalled should it be needed for any reason, even national security, at a later time.
Well, and that's a good point, because any emails being sent should be retained by the agency, right? Because they do go through that.
You would think.
But what about other information on the phone?
All of it.
Yeah, pictures.
Why not?
Or text message. I don't know what else.
Because if it's government use only,
right,
and it's being used for classified information, then all of it should be pertinent to...
And I don't know what the policy is on there. I just thought it was kind of an interesting point. And you touched on it earlier about other members of the administration using personal emails. Our friend Lois Lerner had a personal email account.
I want to know more about that name and where it was derived from, because that is very, very interesting for me. And I'm guessing that maybe we should check like Facebook for Toby Miles, Instagram, all those things, just to see what else was used under the name in that email, Toby Miles.
Right.
To see what server that email accessed.
Look, this was discovered. The IRS attorney Jeffrey Klimas, whatever the hell his name is, was putting together some documents to give to Judicial Watch attorneys when they found this other email account.
Oops.
And accordingly, it sounds like it was already known to the agency.
Wait. So what you're saying is the agency may have already known this in May. Just like the head of the agency may have visited the White House a couple hundred times.
Right.
And And there was no action taken.
I don't know if that's true.
When we start to have the conversation, especially with Lois Lerner, and the targeting of conservatives, etc., and people call us paranoid and crazy and lunatics and just all the rhetoric and vitriol that gets thrown at conservatives when we have the conversation about Lerner specifically and her actions as she was at the IRS. I always explain to people, it is things like this that make me nervous. And it is things like this that I worry about.
This is why a special counsel needs to be appointed.
Absolutely need a special counsel.
But again, it's another example of somebody in this administration being shady, conducting shady business, and not much being done. The administration hasn't come out and said anything.
At all.
I'd be really concerned if a third high-profile person used a private email account. Hey, in a completely unrelated story... Ambassador Kennedy used private emails.
Ambassador
Caroline Kennedy, the daughter of
JFK,
used private email to conduct official business.
Well, that's okay. Oh, wait, no, it's not. Wait, it's not okay.
Well, the State Department's Office of Inspector General, the IG, said that they found certain situations where emails were labeled, quote, sensitive but unclassified. So it wasn't classified, but it was sensitive. That was sent to or from her personal email account.
But let's be honest at this point. Why would you even think about using it? It makes no sense to me. You're a U.S. ambassador. You're the head, or big deal at the IRS.
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm saying in general.
In general, okay.
You're the Secretary of State. You know that the information that comes through your emails is more often sensitive and or classified. You know this. This isn't a surprise. It's not like all of a sudden we're going to start sending U.S. ambassadors private emails that are classified. No. This is the way it goes. At what point does it ever seem like a good friggin' idea to use personal emails and or servers? I'll tell you something right now. If I try to use personal email at my work for work business, I would get a talking to immediately. Immediately. Sacco yells at me if I use my Gmail to send him something on SHR. You gotta keep things locked up.
What's Gmail?
I'll explain it to you at the break.
Okay.
But this isn't hard to figure out, and the fact that they're so, and I'll use the term loosey-goosey, with rules in this administration, as somebody who swore to stuck to the rules and be open and transparent.
Right now, to be fair. There was a report that she can use that as long as there are measures taken to ensure that official records sent or received on personal email are preserved and other requirements are preserved. So again, this wasn't anything marked classified, but there was sensitive information. I think it shows a pattern of behavior conducted by officials linked to or within this administration.
Yeah, it's just an ongoing... I just want to know... I can tell you when this controversy in this administration will end. It's probably going to be January or so, 2017. But, it's amazing to me the bull crap that goes on in this administration on all levels. On all levels.
Mm-hmm.
Even the president, throw everything else out for a second, and let's look at the IRS specifically. Well, I had no direct communication with the head of the IRS. He visited you 192 times. Oh, that guy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we play cribbage a lot in Whist, and he just comes by. And never once was it mentioned about targeting Tea Party. No! That's just crazy talk. Why would you even suggest that? Well, because according to Lois Lerner, those? That's a conservative fault. Like, it just goes on and on and on and on. And I don't think we're reaching. I don't think we're being paranoid. I don't think we're going too far. This administration is effed up beyond levels that you can even imagine. It's almost like...
Well, we can imagine it.
It's almost like the boss who doesn't show up to work ever, right? He's always golfing on the vineyard or something. And everyone's just like, screw it. Until we get called on it, we're not going to do anything.
And look, Congress can have as many hearings as they want. They can have as many committees as they want. But bottom line is, they hold the power of the purse.
They hold a lot of power.
And they won't.
They're not going to do anything with it. And that's what bothers me the most, is they're not doing anything with it. They're not holding people accountable. They're not.
This whole Clinton thing scares me, particularly that she's still a front runner. Jesus. But it scares me because, look, if she's willing to do this as Secretary of State, what would she do as president?
Oh, are you kidding me? Are you even kidding me? Oh, I cannot.
It would be possible that they would be the first husband and wife team impeached. Because he was impeached. He wasn't convicted.
I just picture a history of the world with, what's her name? She was Madeline Kahn, where the four guys are carrying her in and she's on like the Cleopatra float. That's what I picture.
I thought you were going to say with I thought you were going to say that scene. No, yes.
Well, that could be very true as well. I don't know. But I just picture that scene.
No, yes, no,
You've made some very big decisions today.
Wait a minute. Oh, my God. Yes!
I love QuickTime Harch. Can you guys step off on the same foot? My tits are falling off! Madeline Kahn, she was awesome. But yeah, no, an unrestricted Hillary Clinton does frighten me. Because, and we've seen, you can read back through all the stories. Again, I refer you to the 47 bodies of Hillary Clinton, all the different things that have happened bizarrely around the Clintons and continue to happen in a bizarre manner. You can't sit there and tell me that she would not go off the reservation and really just do whatever the hell she wants. And I honestly think that it would be worse than this president in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. She may not be, her political agenda may not per se be played out as much as his is, but I think her personal agenda would go through the roof. And I really believe that her personal agenda is more frightening than her political agenda. Because I think her political agenda is just to get elected. I mean, if you listen to her talk, she doesn't really have anything. She hasn't really made any big statements about what she's going to do. It's been typical I'm running for office speak, right? It's all about the middle class and crimes in inner city, and I want to meet with these groups and that group, blah, 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 blah. She didn't come out and say, I'm going to completely redo the Fed. She's not going to come out and say, I'm going to hold Congress accountable for a budget or whatever. Turn us to socialism. Whatever she wanted to say. She hasn't really come out and said anything massive. Why? I don't think she really cares. I think her agenda is all about Hillary. I think she's a bigger narcissist than this president.
She is. I don't know about bigger narcissist than this president, but she is a big narcissist. And she's. Have you noticed she's moving farther to the left?
Of the stage?
Also, in general, in her views. Because I think she's worried about...
Well, she knows she has to, right?
Sanders,
I mean, you look at the politics. Yeah, you look at the politics that are out there right now, and look at... You have Sanders, who's pulling huge crowds and taking bigger numbers. We talked about this last
How does a socialist, communist...
Because members of this country right now have been so convinced, and I will say through education system, school and college, that socialism is the way to go. I don't agree, but I believe that is the mindset of many, many young people in this country, because they've been convinced the only thing wrong with socialism and communism is
this hasn't been done right yet.
We haven't done it right yet. That's it. Nothing else.
But we'll do it right.
You know, and when you try
We're different than any other society on earth. We will do it right this time.
And my example for that is, look at Debbie Wasserman Schultz. When she was pushed by Chris Matthews on Hardball, what's the difference between a Democrat and a progressive? I'm sorry, as a socialist. She had no answer.
Because there is no difference.
Well, right. Well, there is a difference, but she couldn't articulate it.
Not a huge difference.
Not a huge difference, but I'm
between
talking,
a progressive Democrat.
What I really think that Chris Matthews meant is a traditional blue dog Democrat versus a socialist, and there is a big difference. And I don't think that she knows.
I don't think he meant that.
I don't think she knows what a traditional Democrat is.
I don't think that's what Chris Matthews meant at all when he asked that question.
Pardon. Well, either way.
Do you think Chris Matthews is a blue dog Democrat, or do you think he's a socialist?
I think he's more of a traditional Democrat.
Do you really?
Overall, yeah, I do. I think in his personal life, absolutely, I do. Because you look at some of the things that he's gotten mad at, and they were the more socialist things, even at this president and this administration. It was the more socialist agenda. Do I think that he is even a centrist? No, not even close.
No.
I think he's a hard left, but I don't think he's a progressive left as far as, say, a Sanders, an Obama, a Warren, like
a Stalin,
a Lenin,
not John,
Mao, Guevara. I could keep going. Essentially, everyone's faces that are on shirts right now. But that's the problem with this country, right? Is socialism?
It's cool.
It's being taught as cool.
It's cool,
and that's what leads folks to revolutions that are not necessarily in the best interest of the country. And when you try to explain the difference between socialism and communism, it's amazing to me.
What's the education system's a joke in this country? You read a Facebook post earlier to me.
Oh, I read you a couple.
But one was Paris isn't its own country. Why don't they teach us this in school?
That was a good one.
Right. And the other one was Hawaii is its own country.
Right. And we know that the oceans aren't rising because it hasn't sunk yet.
Right.
Which, if it was floating, no matter how much the oceans rose, if they were rising, it would continue to float on top. But
it's not floating. It's
I'm just saying.
Because islands just float.
Because islands, well,
that's what they do. They're not really in the same place. Like, you have to constantly update your nav to fly there.
But we had the Congress member a couple years ago worrying about Guam tipping over, and this was a member of Congress, an elected member of federal Congress, asking the Navy if Guam was going to become too top-heavy and tip over into the Pacific Ocean. That is not made up, folks. That actually happened during a hearing.
I wonder if some of his constituents said, please ask this, and so he did it. Or if it was a dare.
I wish.
Maybe Joe Biden dared him on a bet. Hey, remember that bet you lost? Yeah, Niners Seahawks. So you get to ask that Navy guy.
So you're having a hearing with the Navy, right, about Guam and the top heaviness and the too many snakes or whatever the fuck it is?
Here's your question.
Here's your question.
You lost the bet.
Will Guam,
sir, I'm gonna look like a jackass. You lost the bet.
Become too top heavy.
You lost the bet. I was gonna grease myself up in Vaseline and run around the White House lawn. But but you lost this bet.
Mr. Vice President, you actually did that anyways. Yeah, but I didn't have to.
Right, you have to do this.
So nothing at this point shocks me at all as to what else could come down the line.
We're up against a break.
We are up against a break.
When we come back, I'll talk about our friends, and you are just giddy about this. About one particular segment of this. We're going to have a Korea block.
Oh, we are going to have a Korea block.
And there is one segment that I wish I would have held on to this information, because when I told Sean this, his reaction was priceless. And he said, I wish you would have waited. I said, how did you not know this? When we come back, Korea on the Sackheads Radio Show.
Live on the SHR Media Network.
The best late night.
That's how you know I'm at the board, folks.
Controlled by corrupt politicians.
It's got a business. That you didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cough for the stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint.
all good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on The Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific from me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border and says coordination, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
And I'll tell you another thing. If I'm going to run around covered in Vaseline rolling all over the front lawn of the White House, you're going to ask the stupid Gorm question, and you're going to do it without pants on. Understood?
You got to take your foot pedal off the mute button.
Oh, sorry about that. Welcome back here to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network.
So, Korea.
Hello.
North and South Korea are still at war.
Yes.
There has never been a peace.
Very, very true.
Sign. They are still in a state of war.
They almost blew the armistice out.
They almost did a few things this last week.
You know, and I want to say this was probably the most underreported story of the week. You saw blurbs, and Fox and a couple other ones had it, but they stepped back 30 years in negotiations and kind of living with each other in almost seconds.
So, look, there was an incident of a bomb blast that killed a couple South Korean soldiers, and the speculation was it was a North Korean device that North Korea put there and killed a couple, and North Korea said no, it wasn't us, and then they fired artillery at each other.
Right. Well,
so there was some shots fired in this war again.
Right. And this isn't obviously this happened a couple years ago with the island that.
No, this just happened.
No. Another incident happened a few years ago with the North Sheldon Island just over the southern
I remember
border.
when we talked about that.
Yeah.
I believe.
We also had the submarine believed to have shot down, or not shot down, but torpedoed a South Korean Navy ship in which sailors died.
They denied that.
They denied doing that, but the ship didn't just blow itself up. In this incident, the mine was a wooden box mine, very, very old technology, something that the North Koreans are known to still use.
Yep.
And you knew it was newer because the wooden box mines had a tendency to rot after a few years. So it was believed to be placed relatively recently.
Much like the leader's gut rots. So last Friday, Little Kim declared his frontline troops were in a quasi-state of war, ordered them to prepare for battle.
Prepare for war. Sacco, that's just wrong, man.
Blatant bigot. Do we have a second blatant
Sacco's starting to
bigot now?
pipe in with this stuff.
The South started having loudspeakers that blasted propaganda towards the North, like along the border, and that made the North mad, and so they requested the loudspeaker broadcast to pull back. And again, these started after the North was accused of planting these mines that injured these 2 South Korean soldiers. One soldier lost 2 legs, the other lost 1 leg.
Did you hear what they were actually playing though over the loudspeakers?
What?
I have a clip.
Red, white, and blue! That's a joke, son! A flag waver! You're built too low! The fast ones go over your head! You got a hole in your glove! I keep pitching them and you keep missing them! You gotta keep your eye on the ball! Eyeball! I almost had a gag, son!
And I can't believe Rooster actually recorded South Korea's propaganda to play over there. Right. But we haven't heard from him in a little while, so that was awesome that he's actually kind of back at it again. North Korea fired an artillery round from what was believed to be from an anti-aircraft gun. It landed near a South Korean border town. 20 minutes later, 3 more North Korean artillery shells landed on the south side of the DMZ. South Korea then fired 155 millimeter artillery rounds. Did anybody aim? Or were they just trying to piss each other off? Well, was this like a Top Gun? No way, Goose. He'd have fired by now. He's just trying to piss us off. Is that what this was?
Exactly what this was.
Right? Okay. We're going to shoot over there to their side, but we're going to make sure it's not going to hit anything. We're just going to try and piss them off.
Exactly. And it's one of those things that I think the North Koreans were hoping that the South Koreans would hit a target and then be end up being the bad guys, right? Because you look at the last 10 years, all these incidents that have happened, and South Korea has really maintained self-control for not striking back during these incidents, even though they should have, in my humble opinion, time and again, but they don't because they're really nice people, apparently.
The North?
The South. And
the North didn't hit anybody either.
Well,
may I wonder if Little Kim...
The South can hit.
Right. So is it that the North is incompetent, or is it that the North Korean commanders are like, this is going to go really bad for us if we hit anything, so let's just fire rounds over that direction? Or do you think it actually came from the top where Little Kim said, fire over there but don't hit anything? Because I don't think that was the case.
Make sure you hit the military. And the commander was like, make sure you put it in the big grassy area between the two. Right? Let's just make this look good. Oh, no, our guys just suck, sir. We're sorry. He's trying. Bill's going to get it this time.
Kill them.
Right.
Well, or yes, we fired.
We got him. Sort of. What happened? We ran out of bullets. Oh, that's too bad. I'll
call Putin.
Hello, Putin. Hello, Boyington.
If Putin says, I'm not giving you more munitions because you're crazy, that says something.
Putin's like, well, do you really want to piss off the South Koreans? Because that is just bad. The last thing you want is like 2,000 Rock Marines coming across the border and effing your shit up.
And we are not going to be there. We have more European countries to take back.
Right.
You call China.
I've got Ukraine, I've got Latvia, I've got Estonia, too much going on.
I've got Germany, France.
I heard Iran just came into a bunch of money. Why don't you call them, see if they want to play? You got a lot going on.
I've got Poland, to Germany for me.
And Iran answered the call and be like, I see, yes. Will it be death to any Americans? No? Yeah, we're out.
What about Jews? No?
No. There could be one Jewish guy.
We give you $5 million.
Right.
You show us proof of 2 Jewish guys, $10 million. And 1 barrel of oil.
You're saying there's an American Marine named Epstein within 50 miles? Okay, 2 barrels of oil.
Look, both sides came together. They did avert disaster. They did come to kind of a quasi not really a peace, but yeah. But here's what was interesting: is the North actually did express "quote unquote" regret over the fact that 2 South Korean soldiers were injured during the recent mine blast. So they didn't come out and say, yes, we were responsible. They did say, hey, yes, we regret that this happened, and this now allows the South Korea to say, hey, we at least got the apology that we wanted, and this whole thing can kind of go away. The South also agreed to stop the propaganda broadcast.
I wouldn't have.
So that way, so the South gets to say, "Hey, we got an apology for our soldiers," and the North gets to say, "Hey, they pulled their propaganda." So
I wouldn't have.
What's that?
You can say whatever you want. I know. If I was the South, I'd be like, "Yeah, you know what?
Thanks for the apology. We're out."
Yeah, seriously. No, this is going to be. It's almost like if you're on like probation or something, right? And you get in trouble for something, you do like 30, 60, 90 days in the can to make up for it.
Right.
Hey, that's great. I appreciate the condolences. This is going on for the next 60 days. And if you were good, we'll stop it.
Well, and look, both sides agree that they can hold further talks as soon as they could.
I'm sorry, what?
Both sides have agreed as soon as they could. That's kind of important. I would think you might want to make some time for that. But at least they're not completely on screw you terms.
Well, listen, if I was the South, I'd be like, hey, you know what, guys? Anytime you want to surrender, we're down. We're down for it. Just let me know.
Right, because there has never been a formal peace agreement.
Ever.
They are constantly at a state of war. They just haven't been firing shots.
And again, South Korea, in a lot of ways, is like Israel, right? You have this terrorist essentially ordering the launch of missiles onto your country, or mortars or rounds. In this case, it was a mine, and then artillery shells. This has been going on much like we see in the Middle East for years. It's a very Middle East tactic that the North Koreans are using. And they've shown amazing restraint. Can anybody honestly look at the South Koreans if they turned around and just destroyed every military outpost in the North and say, oh, you shouldn't have done that?
What's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen to them.
Right.
Nothing would happen to them. But here's another interesting development, is both sides agreed to starting next month in September,
share DirecTV,
reunite families that were separated by the Korean War, on both sides. So, and that's something that has not been done before. North Korea actually sent their top political officer, which many people believe he's basically the second most important person.
Number two.
To Little Kim. So they're showing some some seriousness, which I think is a good thing.
It also makes you wonder if South Korea didn't pick up the red phone and go, yeah, you know what, this is the last time.
Well, here's what's interesting. In a completely unrelated story, 3 B-2 bombers landed in Guam.
Oh, weird. Just chilling. Just go. Did it tip over? First of all, did Guam tip over?
Guam did not tip over because the B-2s, in addition to being stealthy, are super light. That's why it flies, Sean. It's basically a big kite.
Yeah, that really kind of wakens up a country like, say, North Korea, eh?
So I actually have to give the administration some credit for this. Hey, Korea's going sideways. Okay, send some B-2s and land them in Guam. And we're going to maintain them there on a rotation basis, just in case things go sideways.
Well,
look, I have to give the administration credit on this one.
It's the right thing to do.
It is the right thing to do. Because nothing says look, we're serious about backing your
Like
play,
double
then
B-2 nukes.
I wish some B-2s would land in the Middle East to back Israel's play.
In Israel, yeah.
Right? But
maybe we'll get there someday.
I'll take this president supporting one of our allies.
Well, and it also makes you wonder, though, too, if that wasn't made on an Air Force level, and then let's throw 3 over there for training, and then
I don't think so, because the story actually came out, and Air Force Chief of Staff General Mark Welsh actually said, "Hey, due to heightened tensions in the Korean Peninsula, we're sending 3 B-2s to Guam."
Oh, good.
So no, they put it right out there. Hey, yeah, we're sending 3 B-2.
Oh, but that happened while Obama was on vacation, right?
So Biden? No, I don't.
Biden could have flown one over.
Watch this.
Hey guys, strap me to the wings, buck naked all the way to Guam. I got $50.
Hey, hang on a second. Hey, Tom Cruise did his own stunt, right? That was a C-130 he was hanging off of.
B2,
One strap,
baby.
huh? Watch this. I'm going B-2. Tom Cruise is a pussy.
Strap, nothing but duct tape. My junk to the wing. Little flat boys.
Wait, did I say the wing? I meant front windshield. I want to hang brain on the front windshield. I want that pilot to look at me the whole time.
Can you just picture like a Guamanian chilling, like, oh, a couple planes. Is there a guy on the front of that plane? Oh God, is the vice president naked? As he's just like, almost like the never-ending story. Whee! But just duct tape, just his junk.
Could you imagine? Could you? Does that B-2 then become Air Force 2?
It does. Air Force 2 and 3, I think, actually.
So if Biden were on Air Force 2, do you think he gets on the radio? Hey, let me talk. hey, Air Force 2 here. Yeah, it's Biden.
Yeah,
big balls Biden.
AF2, another friggin' 2, right? I don't know. Let's do barrel rolls. 747, sir.
Don't be a pussy. Let's do it.
Chuck Yeager did it. Come on, let's go. That's how I picture Joe's happy wee. No matter what. As deep and gravelly as his voice is, as soon as he hits his happy point, it's just wee!
So, okay.
Biden for president, 16. Or 17. I don't know. I'll get around to it.
Or 17. Or 27.
Have you ever seen Around to It?
What?
Around to it. I'll get around to it. Help me win.
Look, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. But fortunately, with these tensions kind of cooling off in the Korea, 2/3 of North Korea's submarine fleet is missing.
No, what?
No, it's no big deal. It's about 50 subs.
Is that all?
Yeah, about 70% of their fleet. They're unaccounted for. What? They went off of South Korea's sonar. Nobody knows where they are.
Wait.
It's only 10 times the normal level of sub-activity or of activity.
We lost them? How do we lose them?
They're off of South Korea's sonar.
No, but we have
South Korea's defense ministry called it unprecedented.
And said, oh shit, when he was told what happened. Now, it brings to mind a couple different things. And we've seen these stories about the submarine who didn't get the message. The Japanese soldier that was on the island for 40 years.
You mean Crimson Tide?
Yes. The Japanese soldier that was still on the island for 40 years thinking the war was going on.
I give that guy so much credit.
The technology on those subs...
Because that guy was acting on his last orders.
Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't have done it. Like, after about 6 months in, I'd have been like, guess I'll be a coconut farmer.
War's got to be over by now.
It was going so well.
Look, South Korea is concerned. They say, look, no one knows whether they're going to attack our warships or commercial vessels. Nobody knows what they're doing. The military has come out and said we are mobilizing all of our surveillance resources. The U.S. is obviously concerned as well. They're trying to find these missing submarines.
Folks, this is really scary, actually. I don't think that North Korea has the ability to do a aquatic launch for a nuke. However, that does not mean that these ships cannot cause tremendous havoc. Mm-hmm. If there is a communication, and it's not exactly like if you've ever seen any North Korean training video, They're literally in front of they have a Nintendo learning to fly, in the original Nintendo.
Right.
They're not the most advanced country technologically speaking. They may still be using the Enigma machine. I'm not 100% on that, but it would not shock me. The fact that a message...
You mean the Rubik's Cube?
The Rubik's Cube.
The Cube of Rubik?
The Cube of Rubik. The fact that those boats could be further enough underwater that they're not receiving information, or
that they were sent on purpose. Look, there's reports that the North has used amphibious landing craft to put some of their forces near the maritime border on the Yellow Sea.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this agreement, which is good, but then this comes out. And maybe they have word, right, that we're just going to send our subs out to start some... I mean, who knows what the North is thinking? Who knows what Little Kim is doing, if this was meant to buy some time and to get a drawdown. But remember in 2010, the North Korea was accused of torpedoing that South Korean warship, which you brought up. 46 people were killed in that attack.
Right. In which South Korea did nothing for retaliation.
That had to be the U.S. saying, hey...
Don't do this.
Don't do this. That had because...
President Obama doesn't have the stones to deal with this.
How do you not take action?
We would have to go to war at that point. Because we're still under an agreement with South Korea. So
we still have troops there.
Right. We would be engaged, fully engaged, and this president would not support that ally in that way, especially at that time. Remember, he was the anti-war president at that time. Bringing them all home. Bringing them all home. So... Yeah, and Clinton was very, very vocal about that when she was Secretary of State at the time. And they did everything they could, and I'm sure a lot of that was us stepping in and going, hey, don't do this.
And you mentioned, hey, maybe they didn't get the word. And there are reports that these submarines actually initially left their ports of call while this crisis was going on.
Well, and when they were all called to arms to...
Hey, so we sent our subs out. Did you remember to turn on the radios? Because remember, we don't tell them how to power up their radios.
Guys,
so that they don't defect. We did not power up the radios.
Here's the best part. No, the boats go out as they're leaving. There's 50 copies of the to-do list that's still on port on shore, and they're like, damn it.
Turn on radios.
Turn on radios. They didn't check it. Not one of these were checked. Whose job was it to put these in the files? Damn it, Sacco! Because the North Koreans have their own Sacco.
They have their own Sacco. They have their own version of Sacco.
We needed one of those on every boat.
A Sacco?
A Sacco. I would love to... there's a great show on television.
That should be a rank.
A Sacco.
A Sacco. Either a rank or a job. Like a job classification. What did you enlist to be? A Sacco.
I was a rear Sacco.
You don't want to be a rear Sacco.
A mid Sacco?
A basic Sacco.
Sacco's mate first class.
Sacco's. I'm a Sacco's apprentice.
I'm a senior seaman Sacco.
I'm a senior Sacco seaman.
What do you do? Nothing. I literally walk around and tell people what my title is. That's it, because I'm the only guy who could have said it, actually. Everyone else kind of failed the test, so... I'm a senior Sacco seaman.
Senior seaman Sacco.
Senior seaman Sacco.
Senior Sacco seaman.
She sells semen by the senior Sacco.
She sells what?
Sanctuary.
How did she get it?
The Cure, great song.
Oh.
She sells Sanctuary. Yeah, it's... Listen, at any point...
So that's the part of the story where I told you, 50 North Korean subs are missing.
I missed that. I missed that story. You told me, and I about fell out of my chair at the Korean restaurant we were at. Now,
which was great.
Try the bulgogi. That's not the point. The point is I got charged double because I did my Little Kim impression.
You did
right off the bat. Oh, we're the submarine.
You did. True story. I had to pay $5. You paid $20.
Exactly. And then you told me you were dead serious, and it's very, very concerning. And listen,
your reaction was classic. You literally started laughing so hard, and you said, "I wish you would have told me that on the air."
Right. I wish I could have gotten that reaction live on the air. I think about how antiquated and out of touch North Korea is with reality, and their military personnel and equipment are no different, right? They only have the information that government gives them. Mm-hmm. And they only act on the information that government gives them. In my opinion, it's actually worse than the Soviets used to be. I think the information is much more strangled and specific. The Soviets, people started getting more and more technology smuggled in than the North Koreans have. They reached out. Many of them wanted to come to this country. A lot of the Soviets back in the day, soldiers, wanted to become Americans. And it happened all the time. You don't see a lot of North Koreans defecting every once in a while, but it doesn't happen on a large scale. They are true to the cause.
And that's why they were concerned about that propaganda.
Right.
Because there was a big fear that it would demoralize the troops and they would, in fact, defect.
Right. And you know what? Instead of munitions, you know what South Korea should have shot over?
Hookers.
No, like iPads. Just like in one of those rugged thing, like just a couple thousand of them.
I like my idea better.
Oh, they're already hookers. I mean, it's North Korea.
Blatant bigot, folks.
Why wouldn't
Strikes again.
Why wouldn't they be hookers? It's North Korea. Funny story.
But Wi-Fi enabled and like internet ready with like web pages already loaded up on there.
Just ready to go. And literally in the front of it in Korean, right, press here to open. It opens up and off they go. That's what I would do, but that's just me. I heard a story about North Korea, and it's funny we talk about this. A friend of mine had a coworker who actually visited North Korea.
Why?
Same reason why people stare at car accidents.
Okay.
It's the awe factor, and it was one of those things that he said he had been to South Korea when he was in the military. He had to go. He had to see for himself, really, what it was.
Okay.
And out of all the stories that were told, and he said, I wasn't allowed to leave my hotel room without my escort, my tourism escort. There's rules on how to take pictures. If you take pictures of Kim Jong-un, you have to get Kim Jong-il in the picture as well.
You have to get who?
The other fathers there. The one, Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un's dad, that guy.
So if you take a picture of the leader, you have to get this other guy in the picture also? Otherwise, what happens? Do they kill you, or do they let you delete your picture?
No, I think they just take your camera and destroy it.
They can't just delete the picture?
No. If you take a picture of the dear leader, you have to take, which is obviously Kim Jong-un, you have to leave some sort of gift or present at the foot of the picture that will be given to him, allegedly. And it could be...
Wait, how do you do that if the picture's on your camera?
No. You take the picture, and then you physically leave something, money, flowers, whatever, at the picture. And the government comes by and collects it and then brings it to the presidential palace or whatever he is.
So wait, so there's like a whole thing of pictures there, like glamour shots or whatever, and you take one, like an 8x10 glossy.
No. To physically snap a picture, you must leave like a tribute.
Wait, to physically snap it, so he's sitting there.
No, it is a picture on the wall of Kim
Jong-un. So you take a picture of a picture?
You walk up with the camera and take a picture of that picture. You must leave some sort of tribute. Must.
To take a picture of a picture?
Yes. And the most amazing things that he... this is the funniest part. This is what he learned that was the oddest part of all of this.
There was something more odd?
All the traffic cops, which there's not a lot of traffic, but all the traffic cops, female. You know how you get that job if you're a traffic cop?
No.
Have to be a virgin. And he said the tourist guide...
I wonder if it's like that in California, too, for the highway
patrol. His tourism director, or whatever the guy was like... he had a weird pride about that, and he kept bringing it up. Almost like it was like the purity of the women there and how pure they were.
So what happens if they lose their virginity while they're on the job?
I don't know. I guess if the light turns red, I don't know.
Do they check?
I would... How would you even check that unless... I mean, I know how you would check that, but... I mean, is that part of, like, their roll call or whatever every single day? Like, it's just a very bizarre thing. And he was like, that got brought up by this guy more than anything else.
Really?
Yes. He said it was like a weird point of pride. He said, I think it was the purity thing. I think it was the purity aspect.
Did he say the guide was nice? Like, were they welcoming to him?
He said they were very, very pleasant, but they were very strict on the rules. There is, and I know we...
Are they pretty good about keeping you in line on the rules or educating you on the rules?
Yes.
Because they don't want... I wouldn't think they'd want an international incident.
No.
Has North Korea ever imprisoned...
Americans? Yeah, they have. Absolutely.
And that's what I mean, right? Is it common, or do they try to avoid that because they want the dollars? Or
I'm not sure.
What's there to even tour?
Well, and So he said one of the strangest things he saw is there is this gigantic hotel that is like a pyramid. Not so much like the Luxor in Las Vegas, but more like a block pyramid, if you will.
Okay.
Like Legos. But it is like hundreds of stories tall and wide and just insane. But because the building was built so poorly, parts of it have slipped and it's essentially condemned and vacant. It's only like 20 years old. But it was just, they have such poor construction and engineering that the building literally was slipping. But they have a gigantic satellite on top that the Egyptians rent for part of their satellite communication systems.
It's not funny that the Egyptians run a satellite on top of a pyramid. Anyways, go ahead.
I never even thought about that till you said it, but yeah, so it is kind of funny. So this whole building
don't they have their own pyramids to put some stuff on top of?
Only exists because of that.
Because the Egyptians pay money,
right? That's it. It's absolutely crazy to me. So
were the hotel accommodations nice?
He said they were like a Midtown Holiday Inn, like Detroit Holiday Inn. It wasn't dirty. There weren't cockroaches or anything like that, but it wasn't like luxury by any stretch of the imagination.
And that was their luxury hotel.
That was their luxury hotel. So, I mean, you would think, though, like, if you're an American to spend money, like, Kim Jong-un would come greet you at the airport. Hey, buddy, how you doing? You want to go see some things? Maybe pay some strippers or write me a check, something like we're pretty poor. We need all the help we can get. Be my friend. Like, you know what I mean? But instead, it's very, very, very limited. Listen, we are up against a break. When we come back, I really can't read the last story. My glasses,
you can't read
glasses are off.
It's the Paris train attack. It's kind of a big deal.
Oh, yeah. My glasses are off. How bad is that? Right here on the SHR Media Network, you're listening to the Sackheads Radio Show. I can't see.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying half of the stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific from me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border and says coordination, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show. We are live here on the SHR Media Network. You are so welcome, my friend. Thank you for being here and joining us. So, this past weekend on a train bound
to nowhere, met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to speak.
On a train bound to nowhere.
Isn't that where you're going with that?
Met up.
Listen, we were listening to the Fall Guy theme song earlier, so I thought maybe we were doing this.
Amsterdam to Paris bullet train. 3 Americans and other people were on board when an alleged attacker, a 25-year-old Moroccan national by the name of Ayoub El Khazini, Hini Honey Ho. The last part I'm not 100% sure of in my notes. Attempted to become an active shooter with an AK-47. He also had a pistol. As he was loading the weapon, 3 Americans, 2 of which were in the military, 1 was with them, and a Briton recognized the attack was impending, charged, and disarmed the attacker after one of the Americans was slashed several times with a box cutter.
So edged weapon component also.
Edged weapon component as well. On top of the AK-47, he had an automatic pistol, 9 cartridges, 9 cartridge clips, 9 bullets, a couple magazines on him as well for the pistol, as well as the AK-47 in the weapon. This guy was planning, after the train was moving pretty good, and it's one of those things that even passengers in the other train said they couldn't hear anything until none of them knew what was going on. Because the train's moving so loud, there's so much noise displacement, all these other things, that he was going to probably go car to car and try to slaughter people. So 3 Americans jumped into action in a Britain, and they were able to save a countless amount of people. Who knows how many people? Alex Gallardos, who's the 22-year-old member of the National Guard, who's one of the service members that stopped the attack, said I looked back and saw a guy enter the car with an AK-47, or he said Kalashnikov. My friends and I kind of looked at each other and then said, get him. Listen, these guys are heroes.
Absolutely.
2 of them are actually from the Sacramento area. One of them spoke today and is being honored by the city of Sacramento.
They got honored with France's highest award.
Absolutely high. But listen, this could very easily have happened here. And that's something I think is missed with this story. I could sit here and talk about this specific incident for hours and what could have been different, et cetera, et cetera. Once again, 3 Americans who stood up for what was right. When I talk about the amazing people in this country, I'm not saying we're the only ones that have great people, because obviously there was a Briton there that jumped in and took action as well. And apparently, and I'm not nailing the French here, but I will a little bit. Apparently, according to other passengers, the crew on the train were literally just running around like willy-nilly. None of them had any idea what to do.
With white flags.
Literally, yeah. I mean, French self-to-French flags.
Once again, Americans and British
had to save the French. It just keeps happening.
Once again.
It's the weirdest thing.
Once again.
So...
I wonder if the French people in Paris are going to be nicer now.
No, they never will be. But listen, to get on this train, you had to go through metal detectors. There was security in place. Obviously, they didn't work. In this country, you don't have to go through any of that to get on trains. And we do have bullet trains. The Acela train that runs from Boston, New York to Washington, they're going to be building one stupidly here in California here shortly. This is something that, in my opinion, was probably a test run.
This was a full-on attack that was going to happen.
No, exactly, but it was to see how successful it could be. Much like Mumbai. We said Mumbai was the test run for other incidents that we've seen. The mall attack in Kenya, it was believed to be plotted at this place. This was the first that I've seen like this. We've had other track on rail system. There was the Koreas that were Japan that was gassed 15, 20 years ago with that screwball group.
I think this was just another. I think this was an individual that was exercising the individual jihad. Again, terrorism charges have been brought against this individual. and I think it was another attack that was foiled, thank God. But that was going to unfold, and the train happened to be the target that this individual picked.
Well, and
don't get me wrong. I think that other individuals bent on jihad or maybe small cells are looking at rail systems potentially, but I don't know that this individual was sent out specifically to kind of test the waters on trains. I think that that's just the target that he chose.
Well, and he is being questioned by French authorities right now, and I'm sure there's a lot of pleases involved. But please tell us why. No. Oh, monsieur, I have a croissant for you. No. That's actual transcript, I think, from the interrogation.
Is that? I didn't see that one.
That's not confirmed, but you never know. On that train, I'm sorry. When we talk about Europe and we talk about Belgium and we talk about France, France has had 850 people leave to fight in Syria and Iraq on behalf of jihad. Belgium has had 300. We know that Europe is insane with jihadist activity.
Mm-hmm.
But we also know it is coming here.
Mm-hmm.
And we also know, and we've seen it here. We've seen attempts here. We've seen successes, however small. And this brings you to just yet another place that you need to be concerned. Because even if you're on a train, it doesn't have to be a bullet train, but you're on a train from Iowa to Chicago, and it's a 6-hour stretch, and you're in the middle of nowhere on a train, and something like this happens. And by the way, trains are gun-free zones. You're not permitted to carry firearms on any Amtrak trains. The bad guys know that. And you get out there, it's like being in the middle of nowhere, right? You get 2 or 3 guys on the train that have a couple rounds of ammunition. There's some serious damage being done.
Oh, yeah.
So this is yet another opened eye that we need to use and examine the threat of jihadists here in this country.
And again, so in this country, how are we securing our rail lines? Now, I do know that there are Viper teams through the transportation that do sometimes patrol trains. Amtrak train line here does have their own police department. Southern Pacific, I believe, has their own police department.
A lot do, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
our air marshals, there was a report done on how just utterly destroyed our air marshals are right now. They're committing suicide in large numbers because of the work schedule, and there's so few of them that they're just constantly on legs of trips, very, very little time off. They did a study where I think it was like 40 or 50% of them, some ridiculously high number, admitted to needing to use some sort of drug or alcohol to sleep in the short amount of time that they had. Also fit for service oftentimes when they board the plane because they're exhausted, whatever. So you look at yet another ripple in security. And say what you want about the TSA. I believe in the actual air marshals. I think that they do a good job. I've actually met a few and been fortunate to meet a few. And their goal and mission is a good mission. Horrifically understaffed, horrifically under. A cop in a public place, like a sports arena or something like that. The need is there. Even if some people don't like it, that need is there. And they don't, if you get on a plane and you don't act out of line, you'd never even know the air marshal was there. You only know about it when something happens. And I've actually, my mother came out to visit a couple months ago, and there was an incident on the plane itself where the guy was absolutely hammered drunk, and there was an air marshal on the plane that kind of had to fight the guy a little bit and actually detain him. But he was becoming a problem and could have become a much worse problem. So the need is there. And I know Amtrak is a private entity, and perhaps, let me rephrase that. Amtrak is perceived as a private entity. They're extremely federally funded.
They get $1 billion a
federal
year
money, yeah,
from the federal government. And there's always fights between the Democrats and Republicans. The Democrats obviously want to move it to a more government-controlled operation.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans say, no, let's completely privatize it. Why are we continue to give $1 billion a year to Amtrak? It is a money loser.
Right. And it's one of those things, too, where, Amtrak, I don't want to talk about the finances of Amtrak too long. Amtrak could be an awesome system if they actually made some changes that need to be made. I personally am one of those people, I would love to take a train cross country. The problem is it takes 4 times as long, 6 times as long as a plane.
It would just be for the experience of it.
It would be for the experience, but the amount of money that it costs to do it, it's like $1,800 to go one way. I'm not going to pay that.
No way, especially when I can fly across country for a few hundred.
Right. So there's a lot of problems with Amtrak. But one of the problems that I see is the security on Amtrak. Amtrak, a lot of people don't realize, is one of the biggest narcotics trafficking base for East-West in this country. From Chicago west, Amtrak is utilized regularly by drug dealers. There's a lot of people evading prosecution that ride Amtrak because it's not hard to get on.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike Greyhound, you do have the potential to have 300, 400, 500 people on one train going in one direction. So when we talk about these incidents, we always have to look at the security in this country. And listen, I look at Amtrak like I look at airlines. If you choose to fly it, then you have to choose to go through their security procedures, especially if it's truly private, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I think we need to look at. But also, this is another incident of, like, if it is what you said, where it wasn't a dry run, it was this guy took it upon himself, it's continuing to happen. And even with these ISIS attacks, or these ISIS, the number 2 guy from ISIS got bombed and killed the other day. There's been a couple other progressions as far as the attack on ISIS. But these attacks are going to get worse as time goes on before they get better. Because, and as we see with Kurt Schilling in ESPN the other night, apparently you can't even speak out against extreme Islam without losing your job, and the political correctness team just runs amok.
Right.
And he didn't say all Muslims. His tweet was very specific to radical Islam. And he equated them to Hitler.
To the Nazis.
To the Nazis.
There's similarities there.
There's a lot of similarities there.
Yes.
If I was a statistician, I'd be looking at the numbers going, you start looking at everything, kind of adds up, right? But we are so...
You can't say that.
Exactly. We are so afraid to look at radical Islam.
We're not.
Well, this country is. That we won't even truly defend ourselves from it or be allowed to defend ourselves from it because people might get offended.
Look, you brought up a story earlier when we were talking about the father and his 2 sons.
Yeah, out of New Jersey.
Who went to go fight alongside the Kurds.
Against ISIS. And listen, the first thing you said is, oh, well, if any of them get hurt...
from the Turks.
Right, fighting for the Kurds, these people are... His wife's going to kill him. And that's absolutely true, but the reality is, I think more and more Americans are starting to realize that this is a fight that needs to be brought to the ground on ISIS.
Right, but now what's that do for Turkey, knowing that American citizens are involved in the fight?
Well,
with the Kurds, are they going to continue to? Doesn't it put them potentially in a weird spot? Or are they just going to be like, oh, well, they're making the decision to fight, and we're at war with them, so
right,
that's on them.
I don't know, and I don't know if our State Department's like, hey, lay off the Kurds for a little bit, which they should be. They're not the biggest problem right now.
Right.
But a little bit about the family. The father, Harry's 49, his 2 sons, Josh and James, 29, 23. They left Tuesday, yesterday, to join the Kurds in northern Iraq. The father, dad, is divorced, all right, so he doesn't have to worry about that. Father in New Jersey. He was a former Marine, a police officer, and currently, or was a National Guardsman who served 2 tours in Iraq. Son Josh was a Marine who served 2 in Afghanistan, and his brother James, the 23-year-old, also fought in Afghanistan as an infantryman, I believe, in the U.S. Army. Family came up with an idea when they to travel in northern Iraq to document the fighting as cameramen, and then it progressed into actually fighting ISIS. All 3 say they are prepared to die and will not be captured. You know, when we have people like this, who I think recognize that sometimes evil has to be confronted, and are willing to risk their own lives, and to confront that evil on their own dime, to go to a place where it's not even with other Americans per se.
Right.
Because the fight is so important. And
to them personally, they recognize...
All 3 of those guys served over there, right? They served in the Middle East. They know what the hazard and the danger is. They know who they are about to go up against. And maybe it's something that this administration doesn't want to do, but more and more of these folks realize that maybe some things need to be done different. And this isn't going to be won through bombings. This isn't going to be won through propaganda. We're not going to win these people over. We're not going to hug them and to stop killing people.
No. And this isn't the first time that American citizens have volunteered to go fight
at all
against evil. I mean, you look at what American citizens and flyers did for the Chinese people when the Japanese were invading in World War II. You had the Flying Tiger group that came. You had Americans fighting with the French before America entered the war. And so this isn't unique, but in all of those cases, American citizens recognized a potential global threat and evil and
confronted it.
Volunteered to confront it, absolutely.
And it's a lot different than Americans going to join ISIS. Because ISIS is after world domination. And these guys want to stop
Global caliphate.
Global caliphate. These guys want to stop it. And these guys are willing to risk their lives, in my opinion, for our country just as much as the Kurds.
Because it does affect us.
It absolutely does affect us. So, you know, my thoughts and prayers are with them, and I wish them nothing but success. I wish there was a way that we could donate to them directly. Those 3, for equipment, whatever. Because that's something I would participate in. Because, you know, sometimes the citizens of this country does need to leave the government, as it should be. We should be the one leading the government and setting the example and forcing the government to step up to that example. And these 3 gentlemen are doing just that.
I think that I think it's very personal for them. Like you said, you know, they recognize the global threat that affects all of us, including us here in the homeland, and they decided to step up and do something about it, since our government is doing very little in terms of boots on the ground. I don't know what kind of support they're going to get from our government. If they are captured or if anything happens, I don't think they're going to get any support. Maybe if they're captured, there'll be some sort of talks or negotiation. I have no idea. But I don't have a lot of confidence in this administration. And Turkey really does. I mean, I think they have to worry about not only ISIS, but they have to worry about Turkey, a potential ally of ours.
Yeah, there's
not a potential ally of ours, an ally of ours.
Right, NATO ally. So there's a lot there to be concerned about. And you know, we talk about the Kurds, and I understand there is the terrorist wing of the Kurdistan people, if you will. They're terrorism. They just happen to be Kurds. And then you have the other Kurds as well, and the ones who are actually fighting ISIS for the most part are good people who've been fighting this fight for a long time. These are the same people that the Iraqis gassed and have just been slaughtered for thousands of years, really, and continue to survive somehow. And you know, I've talked about the Kurds before, and I've talked about how I think they're so important in this fight, and it's really...
So they're the only ones that seem to be fighting.
And they're the only ones that seem to get it.
Like fighting boots on the ground fighting, not, we're going to fire a missile here, or we're going to fly over and we're waiting 45 minutes for clearance. We can't launch our stuff.
Right, we'll drone this, or, blah, 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 blah. So, I'm just glad that somebody finally, and you know what? I think you'll see more and more Americans starting to do this. I had a young man who used to work for me that was a Marine that did time over in Afghanistan, who said just recently that he was starting to research how to fight for the Kurds, and that may be something that he would do. So I do think it's amazing to see Americans leading the way yet again in this country. And sometimes the right thing isn't the popular thing. And I'm sure there are people in this country who are going to sit there and just talk about how horrible it is that they just want to go kill Muslims for no reason. These people must be animals to just want to go and murder these people who are just confused and blah, 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 blah. When the reality is they want to go vanquish evil, and I have to applaud that.
We didn't talk about anything tonight.
It was a slow night, wasn't it, for the news department?
Very, very slow. We didn't even talk about Biden potentially running or his talk with Elizabeth Warren.
Yes, and
that was one of our on-deck segments, but we didn't have a chance to get it.
I almost wonder, and we could do the Cliff Note version. We have 4 minutes. I almost wonder that talk was, hey, I need you to get the progressive vote. So if I get that far, you said you won't run for president. What about vice president? Because Sanders won't have her. I think Sanders is too much about Bernie. He wants to be the top socialist. But
do you think Biden would want a socialist running mate? I don't think Biden is a socialist.
I don't think so, but I think to get the votes and be elected.
Or does he just want her support and endorsement?
Oh, I bet you VP. I bet you he's looking at her for VP. I know he came out and said he doesn't know if he has the emotional strength left in the tank to run for office.
And Clinton came out and she did say the classy thing and say, hey, he needs to have the space
to make his decision.
In order to make his decision.
And I'll tell you what, if I'm the Democrats, I'm pushing for Joe to get in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pushing for him because...
And there is a push to get him in.
Right, because they have nothing... He is the white horse. As scary as it is, he is the great white hope for the Democrat Party. It's Joe Biden. Crazier words have never been spoken. That tells you how screwed up the Democrats are right now. Where Biden is the savior. Just think about those words.
And Biden is politically astute.
Oh, absolutely he is.
He is an intelligent man.
Right. All the craziness we give him on the show, he's a smart guy.
He's a very smart guy. Like I said, I would love to have a drink with the guy.
Oh, I would. Dude, I absolutely... I would probably... I would go pretty far in order to get that drink.
But the man can debate.
Yeah.
You know, the man can articulate a position. He's out of his mind sometimes, which I think is hilarious.
I don't know if I want him as president.
But think about it. You could potentially have Biden, Trump, two guys with a I don't give a crap attitude.
Right, going at each other. Can you imagine that debate?
Oh, I would love to cover that.
Beep, 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 beep. No, you. Just throwing microphones at each other. Like all of a sudden, it's like WWE
matchup.
Oh no, this is like
no matchup. No. Trump v. Biden. Who wins?
I have no definitive answer for that.
Gotta pick one.
Wait, are we talking legit matchup or
we're talking
presidential matchup?
No, we're talking Clint Eastwood, Heartbreak Ridge, in the pit matchup.
I'm gonna
the game we play.
I'm going to give it to Biden. I'll give that matchup to Biden.
Really?
Yeah, he just seems like he'd never quit.
Yeah.
He just seems like I got to give that to Biden.
They might end up making out in the mud. On that note,
and strictly for our show,
and hoping and singing and praying,
because the amount of comedy that would come out of a Biden president would just be absolutely awesome.
Oh yeah, or a Biden-Trump
run. Oh God, folks, that's it here on the Sackheads Radio Show, live from the SHR Media Network, from the SHR Studios in sunny somewhere else where we're not. We'll see you next Wednesday night. Tomorrow morning.
I thought you were going to say El Salvador.
El Salvador. Tomorrow, 12 in the east, 9 in the west. In the morning, catch Jersey Joe, Political Reva, right here on the SHR Media Network. Talk to you next week.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network. In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
got a business. That you didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying calf for the stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually